Kevin Connors, Amina Smith here with you, and just a blockbuster what's happening in the NBA right now. In the wee hours of this Sunday morning, just all hell has broken loose, Kevin.
This one right here, the three-team blockbuster trade finalized late Saturday night. You've got Luka Doncic going to LA, playing alongside LeBron, and Anthony Davis now in Dallas with Kyrie playing with the Mavericks.
Hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked.
Doncic has been traded.
I thought they were messing with us.
I thought so too, but then I saw the video. This is not a drill. We'll give you the information next year on SportsCenter.
Oh my goodness!
The biggest shock that I've ever seen covering the NBA all of these years, guys. Luka's 25 years old. He averaged 34 last year. He's a career 28-point per game scorer, universally recognized as one of the top 5 players in the world.
The Mavs are 9th right now in the West. I think they're like 3rd or 4th in the pecking order, even with AD.
And guys, I hate getting into conjecture. I hate getting into speculation and innuendo. But the first thing I'm like, what must have Luka done?
Goodness! Are they mad or not? Bambi legs, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, the going out of here.
Both sides won. Dallas won in the aspect of they showing the world that, hey, we believe in Kyrie Irving.
Respectfully, Luka could have been in the back smoking crack. He could have been shooting up heroin. He could have been on cocaine. He's going to get that max deal. He's going to get that max because if you're telling me he was a crackhead getting to the finals, well, I guess I'm going to sign a crackhead to a max deal because Luka being able to perform at that level.
Side of things now for the Lakers looks a little bit more glim, if you will. How problematic might that be? Yes, Luka Doncic is a fantastic scorer, but defensively he can't do what AD does.
So, after almost a month since the trade deadline ended, I have been taking and retaking some more multiple clips centered around this Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. And to be quite frank with you, I gotta be honest, I give up. The reason I give up is because I came on this microphone with the original idea of, hey, maybe this isn't that odd of an idea to trade Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic if the idea is that you want to win and you just want a different way of being able to win the championship. And leading up into Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic's debut for the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks, I honestly felt as if I was very, very confident in the take that I was going to announce to you guys. However, Anthony Davis then got hurt after literally his debut. No, scratch that. He got hurt in his debut. So then my idea turned into, well, hey, maybe it can still be a balanced trade because Derek Lively should return, David Gafford should return, and this team being spearheaded by their dominant defensive front court along with a creator the level of Kyrie Irving and having the wing defenders like a Najee Marshall and a Quentin Grimes. Well, Quentin Grimes gets traded. And then they could be able to come back into, a championship title. Oh, wait, Kyrie Irving then tears his ACL. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. You know what? Let's get the trade package that was given to one another. The Los Angeles Lakers received Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris, as the Dallas Mavericks received Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. We can skim through the Utah Jazz as they got 2 second-rounders via the Clippers and the Mavs, and they also got JHS, Jalen Hood-Schifino. Now, Danny Ainge has came out and stated that he had no idea that he was taking part in this blockbuster trade. However, I find that hard to believe with his experience and his cachet in this league. I just can't believe that he would not ask, what am I assisting you in? But even still, let's first go to the Dallas Mavericks and see exactly what situation occurred for them to even want to have the balls to go into this trade, let alone initiate it. The Dallas Mavericks in the 2023-24 season had an offensive rating of 117, 114.9 defensive rating, which had them finish off with a 2.1 net rating, which is good for middle of the pack in the league. However, that does not tell the full entire story of how well they looked on the back end of the season, as once they got Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, this flipped the script on the entire identity of the Dallas Mavericks. We're talking about a team that went from 114.9 to 110.6, which was good for the 7th best defense in the entire league. And with that, they more than doubled their net rating
as they jumped to 5.6, which was good for the 5th best net rating in the entire league. Mind you, during this time period, Luka Doncic was putting forth his best season to date, averaging 34 points per game, good for leading the league in scoring, 9.2 rebounds, 9.8 assists, which was his career high, 1.4 steals on 48, 38, 79 splits. That 79% from the free throw line is his career high. And all of that collectively had him sit at a 62% true shooting. And I want to say just real quick before I move along with the story arc, Luka Doncic was shooting 38% on 10 to 11 threes a game. That is by far the most impressive statement during this entire stat sheet. To put it into context, the only players that rival him in efficiency and volume is Stephen Curry, obviously, and then James Harden. That's it. After that, the next best person that can compete with him is a person a la Damian Lillard. Nobody in NBA history had his volume of usage in three-point shooting and was able to match that with elite efficiency. That's the most impressive part of what Luka did last year by far. And then collecting that with his playmaking, it made sense for the team to build around the strengths of Luka Doncic and cover some of his flaws. And I think that was the most important part of getting Daniel Gafford and getting PJ Washington, drafting Derek Lively, and then going into the postseason. I mean, granted, his efficiency went down, his production went down slightly, but some of that can be attributed to the fact that he went into the postseason unhealthy. And so some of the stuff on the offensive end can be viewed as excusable. And I do believe that there were stints during the postseason, especially against the Clippers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, where his defense looked like it wasn't nearly as much of a negative as we saw it typically be in the regular season and in any other postseason run he's been a part of. However, that could not be true when we got to the NBA Finals and they go up against the Boston Celtics. Shout out to Vanity Sports. I used to be a member of that team, and when I did the video speaking about the quality of play that Luka provides and how much relied on it is by the Dallas Mavericks, if Luka does not create on a nearly enough basis, nothing's happening on the offense. We saw in game one, they sort of shut down the passing lanes for him to be able to create for others, and so he sort of had to go into ISO mode. And that's exactly what the Boston Celtics want. At his core, PJ Washington he's a main beneficiary of a Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving creation. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving create opportunities for PJ Washington to attack closeouts, for him to capitalize and knock down open shots, and even at times get lobs and be able to sort of get clean looks around the rim, mainly due to the gravity that they're forcing to themselves. The problem is when you get enough of those clean looks and you get enough of those shots, especially if you're not aware of the moment or aware of the team that you're on and how it's actually functioning, you can trick yourself into thinking that you're far more important than you actually are. I did so with the idea that when Luka Doncic got the help that he actually needed on the defensive end, with some offensive, power, maybe the offense can be a little less reliant on Luka Doncic's playmaking and they could be able to form their own offense on the fly if need be. Luka Doncic in that NBA Finals averaged 29, 8, 6 assists, but he turned the ball over 5 times. His field goal percentage was fine, 47%, but his three-point percentage was horrendous at 24%. Add to the fact he's taking 9 threes a game. His free throw percentage plummeted to barely 59%, and that rounded about his true shooting, finishing at 53%. Again, I give him a little bit of grace because obviously it was his first NBA Finals performance, but also he was injured. 2, he's young, and then 3, he's going up against an all-time caliber team in the Boston Celtics who could literally chase after him left and right. If it wasn't Jason Tatum, it was Jaylen Brown. If it wasn't Jaylen Brown, it was Derek White. If it wasn't Derek White, it was Drew Holiday. Just all the way around across the board. There was nowhere for Luka to hide. And so, leading into the offseason, we expected, they have to get the defense buffered up in the perimeter, and then maybe a little bit of extra dynamic play on the perimeter could be able to assist Luka as well. And the Mavericks did just that. 1, re-signed Markieff Morris, and they also signed Brandon Williams. But more importantly was the additions that they got. When they bring in a Quentin Grimes or they bring in a Najee Marshall, that shores up their defense for sure. But I have to say the most important addition to the Dallas Mavericks this season had to by far be the Klay Thompson pickup via a sign trade from the Warriors. The fact that they were able to bring in Klay Thompson, a premier three-point shooter in the game of basketball, meant that at the very least they had somebody that at worst, had the potential to be able to give you 2 to 3 big games during a postseason run. They also allowed Tim Hardaway Jr. to go to the Pistons. They traded him. I believe they traded him to the Pistons to get Quentin Grimes. And Josh Green, unfortunately, was a part of the 6-team trade that brought Clay to the Warriors, and so he ended up moving on. So there were some pieces that they had to miss out on, but by far, I think we all looked at this offseason as the offseason of the Dallas Mavericks, starting with Clay, and then it all trickled down to just them adding and buffering the perimeter defense. And on surface, I would like to think that it helped the Dallas Mavericks, but I can't say that to be 1,000% true, because the Dallas Mavericks defense, once again, fell to barely middle of the pack with a 113.2 defensive rating. Their offense still looked elite at 114.9, which was good for 8th in the league. But it all rounded out to a net rating of 1.7, which is fringe top 10. And I don't want to sit here and bash on the Dallas Mavericks as if they just didn't deal with anything, and this is just the pure production of the personnel that they have on the court. But at the same time, Luka Doncic hasn't been there either. Luka Doncic only played 22 games. In that entire 22 games, he averaged 28 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 7.8 assists, 2 steals on 46, 35, 76 splits, which was good for a 55.6 true shooting. However, that does not tell the full story, as Luka Doncic had to start off really rough, and then he had to make up a lot of ground afterwards. During the first 15 games of the NBA season, he started 28, 7, and 7 with a 33% usage rate, which was good for 4th in the league, which is par for course when we're talking about Luka Doncic. One of the more heliocentric basketball players I think we've ever seen. But the efficiency just wasn't there. He was shooting 43, 32, 78 splits, which is good for a 55% true shooting. And so just to put it in layman's terms, for you to be as ball dominant as Luka Doncic is, the efficiency also has to be there so that it could be able to lead to reason the defense still primarily focusing on you in the first place. If you're just shooting up shots, they would feel more reasonable to just leave you be and not go and double off of a Klay Thompson or Najee Marshall or Kyrie Irving, because you're not going to make the shot anyway. And so what we saw was the Dallas Mavericks offense become a little bit redundant, very reliant on Luka's creation, and it went nowhere fast because the defense figured out by the end of the game, hey, we could just leave Luka to ISO our guy to depth, and at worst, we just have to stagger because, I mean, what is he going to do? Pass the ball to a guy that's already being contested? And on top of that, there's multiple reports about the Dallas Mavericks front office having issues with Luka Doncic not coming into shape after the NBA Finals run, which, to be honest with you, I get and I don't get. I mean, if you come out of an NBA Finals run and then you go into the Olympics, won't it lead to reason that you would want to come into the training camp sort of in the same shape you were in by the time you got to the Olympics? But at the same time, for Luka Doncic, if I'm giving you all I got in the NBA season, and then I go to the finals, and then I go to the Olympics, by the time I get done with the Olympics, I need some time for me to be me. However, we're talking about a business here, and quite frankly, the personal and how you feel is very rarely taken into account. Add that to the fact that he got hurt with the same injury that has been lingering for the last 4 years now, and it leads to question, how much can Luka do, especially under the strain that he puts himself on with giving his commitments to the NBA, but then also giving his commitments to his country from Olympics time. How much can that put a strain on the body to the point in which he gets hurt earlier on and it becomes more frequent? And that leads me to the Lakers. The Lakers, after the 23 season, had a defensive rating of 110.9, which was 3rd. And that improved drastically after the Russell Westbrook trade. I'm sure we all know about that. I don't need to point to that. And they finished the season with a record of 18.9. And for them trading Russell Westbrook for D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley, they were able to meet the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, where they ultimately met their demise in losing in 4-1 fashion. And in the offseason, they didn't really see much of a reason to make any additions, as they saw what they were able to do with the lineup that they currently had and the rotations that they currently had and the coaches that they currently had. And so they went into the season with quite literally a copyright of what they had by the end of last season. And so going into the 24 season, they finished with a 47-35 record, which is good for 8th in the West. Anthony Davis was giving you 25, 13, and 4, 50, 81 splits. Obviously, I'm not going to mention his three-point shooting because he's not much of a three-point shooter, but that was good enough for a 62% true shooting while also giving you 2 blocks a game. They ultimately made it out of the play-in, and so they finished with the 7th seed in the Western Conference, but they had gone into the postseason essentially with a middle-of-the-pack team all across the board. They had the 15th best offense, they had the 17th best defense, and they finished with a 19th ranked net rating. This was good enough for them to get knocked out in the first round to, you guessed it, the Denver Nuggets once again. This time in 4-0 fashion. And he gave you 28, 16, and 4, still giving you essentially 1 to 2 blocks a game. And also shooting 63-80 splits, which is good for 66% true shooting. And so it was rather clear, especially by Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell with multiple comments during the offseason, that there was a change that needed to be had. That change apparently needed to be Darvin Ham, but that was it. Because during the 2024 offseason, the only meaningful thing that they did was re-sign LeBron James to a 2-year, $101 million contract. They signed Max Christie long-term for a 4-year, $32 million. And oh yeah, they signed a guy named Christian Koloko to a 2-way deal, letting Spencer Dinwiddie go to the Mavs for nothing, and letting Taurean Prince leave and go to my Bucks. And I just want to say, at this point, this is where the Anthony Davis Los Angeles Lakers reared its ugly head. Because at this point, this would be the 2nd to 3rd year that Anthony Davis has asked for a center to play the big position with him so that he could be able to be a little more mobile on the defensive end and maybe have a little more energy during the closing moments of games as a scorer or as a finisher or whatever you want to put him in. He can be able to do that and be maximized because he didn't put much effort on the offensive and defensive end for 40 minutes before then. And they never did that. The best answer that they were able to give to him was Christian Wood or Jackson Hayes. And we all understand, especially as basketball lovers, that Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, they just aren't those players that you feel should be responsible for, anchoring a defense alongside Anthony Davis. Respectfully. The Lakers, when you really are honest with yourselves, I think Rob Pelinka and the front office of the Lakers prioritized building a team around a 38, 39, and now 40 LeBron James. And that was a recipe for disaster in itself. When LeBron James pushed for Anthony Davis to come to the Lakers in the first place, he wanted for them to essentially be a tandem a la Magic Johnson and Kareem. It starts with Kareem, and then it slowly but surely passes the torch to Magic Johnson, and Magic Johnson can lead you to prominence for years on end. And I think for LeBron James, that was his mission with Anthony Davis. However, the front office didn't see it that way. They saw LeBron James as the person that they need to build around for years on end. And it didn't look like at any point they ever looked at Anthony Davis as the guy we should build our team around. And fairly or unfairly, that's what led us to this point.
So after multiple tries, days of combating with myself on whether my original take still stands, and just actively watching these teams and players play since February 2nd, I'm ready to give my final verdict on what I think of this trade. And in my opinion, I think this trade is more balanced than people are giving it credit for. To be honest with you, I think looking at the Dallas Mavericks, there was a clear ceiling. Because respectfully, the only way that I could see the Dallas Mavericks winning the championship while Luka Doncic is at the helm is if an upset took place of catastrophic proportion. I just can't see the Dallas Mavericks beating the likes of the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The problem with the Luka Doncic-led Dallas Mavericks that I saw was just they were very overly dependent on Luka Doncic creating what they were benefiting from. So the objective was clear for every team that saw them. You eliminate Luka, or you eliminate the passing ability of Luka, you neutralize the entire offense of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done, which is why the Oklahoma City Thunder couldn't do it, which is why the Minnesota Timberwolves could not do it, and the Los Angeles Clippers were not able to do it. However, I don't believe some of the best rim protection teams are in the Western Conference. When I look at a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, I saw Chet Holmgren and everybody else was 6'7" or under. I believe the Dallas Mavericks could take advantage of the Denver Nuggets because Nikola Jokic is abysmal when it comes to rim protection. Hell, even when it came to the Lakers, because of the questionable perimeter defenders that were on the team last year, I felt as if he could be able to draw Anthony Davis out, and that could be able to just let bombs go away for Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. But that cannot be said for the Eastern Conference. When it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis and Brook Lopez for years now has been one of the best rim protecting duos the league has to offer. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen has never been questioned when it comes to their rim protection duality. And especially when we're talking about this season, Evan Mobley is on full display when it comes to his versatility, and Jared Allen is doing what Jared Allen typically does when it comes to being that rim protection hub that Evan Mobley and the Cleveland Cavaliers can always rely on when things go south. And even with the Boston Celtics, I think last year in the NBA Finals showed really how versatile a player like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Derek White truly can be if you need them to do things outside of the normal. And so I think that there was always going to be that clear ceiling when it came to the Dallas Mavericks, that outside of people that are Dallas fans, there should be no one that looks at them with a reasonable eye and say that they can't or won't be had against the right team that has overwhelming personnel to force them to play a style that they don't want to play. And so when I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison to be exact, I understand to a certain degree why this trade may have looked a little bit appealing. Because if I'm going to be able to get to the NBA Finals, I want to at least have a chance when I get there. Now, on the flip side, I think your chances of getting out of the Western Conference just got a little bit slimmer. Luka Doncic's play style is quite literally designed for the postseason and for majority of play styles in the NBA. He disrupts 90% of what the NBA likes to do defensively. And if we're going off of last year, he was doing it at a historical rate. This team is going to have to flip his head when it comes to the play style that they knew. As now that you have Anthony Davis, your team has to be entirely defensively prioritized. And going to the Lakers, as I've been mentioning throughout this entire video, the Los Angeles Lakers have built an identity of having offensive aspirations. However, they did not have the offensive creator that could full-time take on that weight of being that creator. LeBron being 40 years old now, he's getting to the point in which you should not be asking him to create everything. And to be quite frank with you, Anthony Davis just is not that caliber of offensive player to generate those type of possibilities. But now you have that with Luka Doncic having a playmaker and rebounder and all-time dynamic scorer. I think the Lakers should feel optimistic about the rate in which they're going to go in the future. But I gotta be honest with you, and I'm gonna say this in the most polite way. You Lakers and LeBron fans need to stop setting yourselves up for failure. I don't know how many times it needs to be explained, but you traditionally will not be able to win a championship unless you have rim protection. Rim protection is a fundamental necessity when it comes to championship teams. The 60 Celtics, the 71 Bucks, the 72 Lakers, hell, the 80s Lakers, the 80 Celtics, the 2000 Lakers, the 2019 Raptors. Do I need to keep going on? And for those of you who would like to contest it, saying, oh, well, what about the Golden State Warriors? What about the Miami Heat? Did they have elite rim protection? And the answer is absolutely not. However, notice what the common theme is when it comes to the Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors, or even the Denver Nuggets from 2 seasons ago. They all had offensive hubs that were generational and, more importantly, were surrounded around talent that fit them like a glove. The Miami Heat, when they won the championship, had elite shooting while also being centered around one of the greatest rim penetrators in NBA history in LeBron James. The Golden State Warriors had not one, not two, but 3 legitimate players who could generate a great look at the drop of a hat. And even the Denver Nuggets, some of the best rotational pieces that could be able to benefit off of a player the caliber of Nikola Jokic, who was generational when it came to passing and playmaking, especially being at the center spot. This move was about the Lakers' future and the Dallas Mavericks' current situation. And to be honest with you, in summary, I think this is a very balanced trade for both. Dallas gets the defensive power forward that can be able to anchor right along with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively when healthy. And the Lakers get a star that can not only perform well alongside LeBron James now, but can also perform well for the Los Angeles Lakers for years to come. But hey, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys have any ideas for future videos, please make sure to also put in the comment section or click on the link in the description, as I'm traditionally in the Take Debates server on Discord. Until next time, I'll see you later. Peace.